Hello guys, what is up? My name is Dylan. Welcome to the Popcorn Podcast. I hope everyone is doing fantastic as always. So, as you guys can see, you're kind of getting double the amount of movies in this one episode. You're getting 2 for 1. It's a bargain if you ask me. I unfortunately, of course, didn't manage to shoot the what I watched in October episode. I usually do these, of course, every single month. So here I am. I'm combining the two. Everything that I watched in both October and November. So yeah, without further ado, guys, let's get into the video. So as you guys can see, 29 entries here in the month of October, which is a little annoying because it means I was just shy of one a day. But anyways, on the 5th of October, I did watch The Eternal Daughter, which was the first thing that I watched at the London Film Festival this year. And as you can tell by my rating, I didn't love this film too much. I think it is a very well-made film with a brilliant performance by Tilda Swinton, who actually plays 2 characters in this one film and pulls it off incredibly well. The problem I had with this film was I just found it to be really slow. And I do enjoy slow films, but I watched this at around 11 in the morning, so I was kind of just getting the coffee in and it wasn't maybe the best experience. Maybe I will check it out at some point in the future, but I didn't have the best time with The Eternal Daughter, let's just say that. Later on that day, I watched a American indie drama called Palm Trees and Power Lines, which I actually really liked, despite the subject matter of it. It was one of the most uncomfortable films I'd seen in a while. But yeah, 3.5 out of 5 stars. Later on that night, I watched Lady Macbeth for the first time. I've been meaning to check this out for a long time. I'd seen bits and pieces of the film, but never the whole thing in one. And of course, Florence Pugh is one of my favorite actresses working today, so it felt good to finally check this off the watch list, and she's just terrific in this film. If anything, I really want to see Florence Pugh in a Game of Thrones spin-off. That would make my life, let's just say. On the 6th, I watched The Squid and the Whale for the first time. One of Noah Baumbach's best, if you ask me. I really enjoyed it. In many ways, I think it's a less developed version of Marriage Story, which of course I think is almost close to a masterpiece. But yeah, later on that night, on the 6th, I went to the premiere for White Noise, my very first film premiere, which was very exciting. I walked the red carpet and whatnot. By the way, all these films, guys, or the majority of the films that I'm talking about over the first kind of 2 weeks of October were the films that I watched at the London Film Festival. And of course, I did shoot a vlog style video for you guys, which is available for you to check out on the channel if you haven't done so already. But yeah, White Noise I thought was pretty good. It's not Noah Baumbach's best, but maybe it's his most ambitious film, let's just say that. On the 7th, I watched Bones and All, which is Luca Guadagnino's new film starring Timothée Chalamet and Taylor Russell. I really enjoyed this film. Don't think it was quite as strong as, say, Call Me By Your Name. But I want to rewatch this film because I have a feeling I'm gonna like it a lot more on the second watch. I say a lot more, but I did still really like the film. I thought it was a really sort of tender and sweet. I say sweet, it's about 2 cannibalistic lovers. But you know, you buy it, you know, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Later on that night, I went to the premiere for The Wonder, which is Florence Pugh's latest film that she did for Netflix, and it is a period drama, and I thought it was one of the better Netflix films. I am not the biggest fan of Netflix films. I only think there are really a handful of Netflix films that are actually good. As previously mentioned, Marriage Story is one of them. But yeah, The Wonder, it was a unique film for sure. It isn't your typical period drama. The themes of the film are, I found, the most interesting to kind of wrestle with here in this film. And of course, Florence Pugh is terrific. Everybody in this film is terrific here. I think it is available on Netflix right now, so if you haven't checked it out and you do like sort of period dramas, I would recommend checking out The Wonder. On the 8th, I went to the premiere for Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, which is Alejandro Iñárritu's new film. Of course, he did Birdman and The Revenant were his 2 most recent projects, and this film sees him return back to Mexico. I thought it was a really ambitious film, and I really enjoyed it. I think it is such a shame that the majority of people will be seeing this film on Netflix in their home, because I watched this in a big theater and it really paid off, because some of the visuals, or a lot of the visuals in this film, are absolutely astounding to see. Yeah, I thought it was terrific. It isn't as easy to follow as, say, a story like The Revenant or Birdman. This one is a much more, like I said, ambitious, and it tackles a lot of different kind of themes. I know I'm being very vague, but I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, I thought it was a really, really impressive film. On the 9th, I went to a press screening for a film called Women Talking, which stars Claire Foy, Jessie Buckley, Rooney Mara, Ben Whishaw, all of whom are absolutely terrific in this film. I think this film is going to get nominated for a bunch of different performance awards here for sure. I wouldn't say it was my favorite from the festival, but like I said, I think the performances here are some of the best of the year. Later on, I went to a special presentation for a new film called The Swimmers, which is based on a true story, an amazing true story about two sisters who leave their war-torn country of Syria with a dream of swimming in the Olympics. And this film is very much about how they kind of try and navigate through Europe and try to sort of essentially achieve their goals. And yes, it does have cliches that do come with being a sports drama, but I'm kind of a sucker for those kind of films. Yeah, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I'd recommend checking this out on Netflix. It was a pretty inspiring film to check out for sure. Later on that night, I watched Amsterdam, finally. I've never really been the biggest fan of David O. Russell's films. I do like some of them, like The Fighter, for example, but my main sort of synopsis of his films is I do really enjoy his casts more than his style of directing and his style of films. And Amsterdam I thought was a complete miss. The cast here, like most of his films, are just insane, and I don't know how the hell this film, I didn't think it worked. I mean, it's kind of a murder mystery, but the film, it has no sort of interest in building any sort of tension or anything like that. I just didn't get it, really. I don't understand. I think Christian Bale is, of course, fantastic. Margot Robbie's in this film. A bunch of different incredible actors, but like not even them could save this film. So yeah, I really didn't enjoy Amsterdam too much. The next day, I watched Park Chan-wook's Decision to Leave, which was one of my favorite. It was one of my favorite, one of my most anticipated of the London Film Festival. Park Chan-wook being, of course, the director of films like Old Boy and The Handmaiden, one of South Korean cinema's greatest, and I really enjoyed Decision to Leave. I thought it was a really sort of twisted neo-noir thriller romance. How the guy blends all those genres together is just, I don't even know how he does it, but don't think it was quite as good as Old Boy or The Handmaiden, but still a really solid film. On the 11th, I watched The Son. It's not a sequel to The Father, but it is by the same director, and this film stars Hugh Jackman, Laura Dern, and Vanessa Kirby as sort of the main cast. Yeah, I thought it was alright. I have seen quite a lot of people hate on the film. I don't think it was that bad, but some of the performances really aren't too great here. And I do kind of feel bad for saying this because I actually have a friend who worked on this film as a runner, but I gotta be honest, I don't know, like, it was fine. I thought it was fine. If you guys are looking for something that kind of tackles similar subject matter, I would recommend Beautiful Boy, starring Timothée Chalamet and Steve Carell. I think that film is a lot better than this. But yeah, later on the 11th, I watched Living, which stars Bill Nighy, and it was really great to see Amy Lou Wood in this film as well from Sex Education. She was just fantastic here. Bill Nighy, incredible as always. This is, of course, the English remake of Akira Kurosawa's Ikiru, which I still haven't seen, unfortunately, but I will, of course, get around to watching it. I thought Living was really solid. I think it has some of the best cinematography and music of the year. On the 12th, I watched The Whale, which was probably the best thing that I saw at the London Film Festival. It of course stars Brendan Fraser, who this is very much his comeback role, and my god, he absolutely kills it in this film. I did not know he had this kind of performance in him. I was crying. Basically everybody in my entire screening was crying. It's a tough film to get through, and I'm interested to hear you guys' take on this film, whether you love it as much as me when it does officially come to theaters. But yeah, I was just blown away by his performance here. I think it's one of Darren Aronofsky's best films. On the 13th, I watched Empire of Light, which is the new film by Sam Mendes, and I just really didn't love this film too much, and it's quite disappointing because I do love Sam Mendes a lot as a director, as a filmmaker, but I just think it didn't really work for me here, so that was pretty unfortunate. Later on that night, I went to a surprise screening of The Menu, starring Ralph Fiennes, Nicholas Hoult, and of course Anya Taylor-Joy. This was a lot of fun. It is a satirical thriller comedy, a little bit like Triangle of Sadness, although I think Triangle of Sadness has a lot more meat to it. But yeah, I thought that this was just, this was really enjoyable. It was very, very funny. Ralph Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy, they're all terrific in this film. Check it out if it's something you want to sort of just sit back and have a good time with. Yeah, I'd recommend checking out The Menu for that. On the 14th, I watched Pinocchio, or rewatched Pinocchio. I hadn't seen this film since I was a kid. What can I say? It's a classic. On the 15th, I rewatched Knives Out. I absolutely love Knives Out. I think Rian Johnson just struck gold with this film. Yeah, 4.5 out of 5 stars. On the 16th, I went to a press screening for Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, of course, a sequel to Knives Out. I don't know how he did it, but in my opinion, I think this is on the same level as Knives Out. It's really difficult to do that, following up a film that is, you know, really, really solid, really, really good. But somehow Rian Johnson pulls it off. The cast here is amazing. I might actually prefer this cast to the first, and I love the first cast. And without giving too much away with Glass Onion, I think it is a lot more comedic than Knives Out, which was usually that kind of maybe bugs me because it might take away from the story. Maybe the filmmaker is more interested in gaining laughs out of the audience, but that just wasn't the case here because the mystery as well is completely different to that of the first. The way we sort of find out details, completely different to the way it went down in the first film, which was a really, really nice surprise to see. And it really showcased Rian Johnson's sort of diversity as a filmmaker, how he's able to sort of approach, you know, murder mysteries from different perspectives. And I don't expect anything less in Knives Out 3 now, I'm afraid to say. But yeah, on the 18th, I started watching the Halloween series, which was a decision that I soon came to regret, but I did rewatch the first Halloween film, John Carpenter, his Halloween classic, literally Halloween classic. Halloween, what can I say? It's a staple in the horror genre. Halloween 2, which I hadn't seen before, I thought was fine. You know, of course it wasn't as good as the first, but I thought it was fine. On the 21st, I watched Black Adam, and this also I thought was enjoyable. It's really not amazing or anything, but I didn't go into it with any high expectations or anything. I just went in and just, you know, kind of wanted to sit back and have fun. I watched this shit in IMAX and it was like really, really entertaining. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the post-credit scene. Of course, if you've seen the film, you know what it is. On the 24th, I rewatched Malignant, which if you guys are a James Wan fan and you haven't seen Malignant, I'd really recommend checking this one out. You know, James Wan is one of the best directors working in horror, or has been ever since he did Saw, and this film is a really unique film by him. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to give anything away, but if you do want to see something you've never seen before in a horror film, Malignant might be the one for you for sure. On the 27th, I watched Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and this film was the only film in the series that tried to do something different, aka tried to sort of abandon or not go into sort of the Michael Myers territory here and do something different. But yeah, as you can see by my rating, I really didn't think it worked. I was kind of bored throughout this film. I don't really have much to say about Halloween 3. On the 28th, I watched Barbarian in a cinema. Now, I had been hearing a lot of things from the US about this film. Nothing to do with spoilers, because guys, believe me, if you haven't seen this film and you're interested in it, please don't go anywhere near any trailers, any images, any reviews, nothing. Go into this film as blind as possible because you will get the best possible experience out of it. Just as I did, I thought this film was an absolute blast. It's probably going to make my top 10 of the year list. Yeah, really, really enjoyed Barbarian. I really want to check it out again. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, I thought was fine. What it does is puts characters in one location in this house and has Michael Myers come after them in this one location. I thought that was more effective than the majority of other Halloween films, but overall the film wasn't great because it was only the last kind of half an hour of it that really made use of that premise, and I wish essentially the entire film was that. On the 31st, it doesn't really get better than watching The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, on Halloween night with a packed out audience. It's a masterpiece. There's nothing more to say. If you haven't seen The Thing, watch it. But the last thing that I did watch in October was Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, and this was absolute dog shit. I don't really remember what happened. That's how bad the film was. Didn't love it at all. It's I'm being generous, just giving it a 1.5 stars. But yeah, on to November. So in November, I logged 21 entries, which wasn't as much as October, but I did the best I could, I guess. On the 2nd, I rewatched Triangle of Sadness. I think it is one of this year's best. Ruben Östlund, who, by the way, he actually liked my review for it on Instagram, which was really, really nice to see. That was a really nice surprise to wake up to on the day that he did that. On the 2nd, I watched Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Probably dog shit. Yeah, looks like it. On the 3rd, I watched Halloween H2O 20 Years Later, which is a really fucking weird title. And I remember this one. This one was alright. Jamie Lee Curtis decapitates Michael Myers at the end of the film. Spoiler, but not really a spoiler because the films keep going on, so you know he's not dead. Yeah, that's the only real big thing I can remember from this film. But yeah, I thought it was fine. On the 4th, I rewatched In Bruges, which is Martin McDonagh's. I think it was his. No, I don't think it was his directorial debut. But of course, I think it is the film that he is most known for. And yeah, just terrific film. Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson are such an incredible duo in this film, and we'll of course see them return later on this month in another film. On the 6th, I watched Seven Psychopaths for the first time, which is Martin McDonagh's not follow-up, but the film he did after In Bruges. I didn't think this is as strong, but I thought it was quite a cool concept. It is kind of one of those films that you can sort of just sit back, have a beer with the boys with, and just have on in the background, and it would be like a super entertaining night for sure. On the 7th, I rewatched Decision to Leave. I have to say, on this rewatch, I did pick up a lot more things, subtle things in the film than when compared to the first, which I really appreciated. You know, it's just cemented the fact that, you know, Park Chan-wook is one of the most intelligent filmmakers working today for sure. Later on that night, I watched The Banshees of Inisherin, which, like I said, Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, they once again take to the center here, I guess. I enjoyed the film. It had a really nice tone. The story was really unique. It was very, very funny. The performances were incredible. One of those films that is going to get nominated a hell of a lot come award season. But I have to say, it looks like people have enjoyed this film a lot more than I have. So I will definitely check this one out for a second time to see if my opinion kind of changes, if it gets worse. I don't think it'll get worse. If anything, I think it will get better. But yeah, Banshees of Inisherin, 3.5 out of 5 stars. On the 10th, I rewatched Black Panther. It's my first time watching this film since, of course, the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman. And I won't lie to you guys, with that in mind, when I was rewatching this film, I got really emotional, and especially during those scenes where, you know, the characters go sort of to the ancestral plane. It really sort of kind of brought me to tears, if I'm being completely honest. I think, yeah, Black Panther is a really, really strong film in the MCU. It's one of the MCU's best. It's not my favorite in the MCU. I do think it has quite a few issues. The third act, you know, a lot of the CGI just doesn't work. But overall, it's a really, really strong outing from Marvel, and of course, it is just a global phenomenon. On the 11th, I of course watched Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I have spoken about the film on the channel in a 1-minute review for the film. I did really enjoy the film for sure. Do I think it is as good as the first? Maybe not so much, but it's a completely different film to the first, if you ask me. But if you guys do want to check out more of my thoughts on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, the lovely people over at Mayamada TV were kind enough to invite me on their podcast as a guest to talk about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. It is almost 2-hour conversation that we have, and we go in depth into this film, so I will leave it linked in the description box below. Yeah, check it out if you're interested. On the 15th, I watched Halloween Resurrection. This looks like the worst one in the entire series. I think this was the one, oh my god, I can't even remember. This is the thing. All these Halloween films kind of just get glued together, and I just cannot remember what happens in which one. They're so... I'm not even going to waste my words on Halloween Resurrection here. On the 21st, I watched Halloween, which was, I guess, the reboot of Halloween, the more sort of modern, updated version of it. Yeah, I thought it was fine. I think this time the story was a little more sort of... better put together. It shows more of Michael Myers' perspective, which is a nice kind of change up. But yeah, it gets nothing more than a 2.5 out of 5 stars from me. On the 23rd, I finally watched Aftersun, which I'd been meaning to for a while, ever since I heard all the buzz around it. I'll be honest, it doesn't seem like I've enjoyed this film as much as the majority. You know, everybody around me is saying it is one of the best of the year, and it just looks like I'm the kind of outlier here, because I did really enjoy the film, and I did like the film overall for sure. But I do think I need to give it another rewatch to really kind of process everything together, and I'm sure my rating will go up. So I'm not saying I didn't like it. I did really enjoy it. The performances are incredible. The direction, I think it's a first-time director. I can't remember her name, but she is going to do really amazing things. I can't wait to check this film out for a second time, and I am really confident that my rating is going to go up for sure. On the 24th, I watched Halloween 2. This was probably the second worst in the entire series. I remember it had some of the most brutal kills in the entire series, but the story was just shit. Kind of went on a Guardians of the Galaxy sort of binge here. I sort of watched all of the I Am Groot show, which altogether sort of is more or less like a half an hour. Yeah, it was cute. It was nice seeing those little animated shorts. I don't really know how it kind of added to the overall Guardians of the Galaxy story. It didn't really, but it was nice to see Marvel trying and, you know, kind of experimenting with something different. That night as well, I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which is directed by James Gunn, and yeah, I thought it was sweet. I thought it was cute. I thought it was a nice lead into Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It has a lot of that typical Guardians humor, which I do enjoy. I am a sucker for that kind of stuff. But yeah, I thought it was really cute, really fun holiday special. It definitely got me much more in the mood for Christmas, let's just say that. On the 29th, I watched Thoroughbreds, which stars Anya Taylor-Joy and of course Olivia Cooke, two of my personal favorite actresses. So of course I was drawn to this film immediately. It's taken me far too long to check this one out, but I did enjoy the film. I don't think it is perfect. I think some things don't really work as well as I think they do on paper, but the performances from Anya and from Olivia Cooke in particular are just terrific. It is about these two friends, and they have kind of really unlikely friendship, and they kind of go down a road where they can't really come back from, let's just say that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. On the 30th, the last thing that I watched in November was I finally watched Werewolf by Night, which is the latest kind of TV special. I say latest, that's the Guardians holiday special, but you know, one of the MCU's latest TV specials that was supposed to be for Halloween, but I only managed to check it out at the end of November. And yeah, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. Michael Giacchino directed this film, and this guy just keeps getting talented by the day. I mean, of course not by the day. He must have always had the eye for directing, just like he has the ear for composing, but I thought this really worked. Like, I really enjoyed it. It was a nice, fun hour of, you know, Marvel paying homage to a lot of, you know, monster classics from the past. Very unique, very different to what we're usually used to seeing from the MCU, but yeah, a welcome addition. And that is it, guys. That is everything that I watched in both October and November here in 2022. We've of course officially breached into December territory, into Christmas territory, so we've only got one more episode this year of the What I Watched. Let me know what you guys managed to check out in the month of October or November, and any comments or any you know, takes on any of the films that I managed to check out. I would love to discuss with you. Also guys, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you are new. But that is it from me for now, guys. Thank you so much for checking out the video, and I will catch you very soon in the next.